All right, buddy. Welcome back to 18 Outdoors. We got a nice trophy room right here that we're walking into. This is the house of Mr. Rocky Smith. If you haven't heard of him, he's a up and coming, really, as far as being known about or being talked about, hunting Alabama. So he moved down, or from the south. Where you moved from?
Central Alabama. Yeah.
So moved up and he started hunting black warrior and some other mammoth areas that's in the mountains, having a good time, and he's been very successful, and he's got a unique style of hunting that he really loves, like a homebody style. He calls homebody bucks that he kind of concentrates on and makes a plan, and he's killed several like late season with the bow. So we're gonna walk through his trophy room and then let him tell us some stories about how he does this and some of his success stuff. So y'all check this out. So we'll start right here. I mean, he's got a crazy room of horns, good horns. So very nice deer. So these three is kind of known about. So very good bucks. I'm real good. How many of these with a bow?
Just that one over there.
Just the one. This one. Oh, that deer was 7-year-old.
7.5 years old.
7.5-year-old with a bow. So that's a heck of an accomplishment right there. So he hunts several different mammoth areas and actually several different states, private land and public land. So this is the Elmore County deer.
Yeah.
That's a big old deer. So real cool display right here. I'd have mounted most of them. That's some big old deer. Good pile of sheds. Real cool pictures. A big corner of some very good bucks. Now this is a really impressive trophy room for anybody. He's got a mixture of some Wisconsin deer in here, some big old body. That's a Wisconsin there, right? So
yeah, that was Wisconsin.
Big old body, just a big old cool typical frame deers.
One from Kansas.
Got one from Kansas.
Yeah, this was with Kansas with the bow.
Right. Well, I'm gonna go back up and show that Kansas deer. This is another Elmore County, right? So
yes. Yeah.
very big, clean, 10 with a sticker. So very nice buck. He's there in Kansas on public land.
Kansas public land.
The bow. So that's a very nice buck. Can kind of tell that's that prairie with them big white horns. So.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's very impressive. Most people dream about a room like this from anywhere. I mean, I don't care where you go. I mean, out of state, that deer is, 22 inches wide inside, right?
It was 22 1/4.
22 1/4. I mean, that's a crazy buck. So, Elmore County, some private land. Anybody got some land in Elmore County? Hey, look at that. Look what you can grow. Wow. So, yeah, it's a very impressive trophy room. So I just met Rocky in person at Chattanooga at the Mobile Hunter Expo. We talked a little bit. Got some kind of similar styles and similar things that we do as far as hunting. So anyway, I'm going to set up. We're going to let him tell us some stories and tell us some of his tactics. This is cool.
It was a huge deer. But it was just all I could do to get him out of the woods.
How much do you think I can weigh?
I would say 225. He was the longest deer that I've killed, biggest deer in Alabama that I've killed body wise.
Wow.
I put them in that jet sled, and I measure all of them by how well they fill up my sled, and he was doubled over in the sled. He filled up the sled really good.
Wow. All right, we'll kind of set up now, so we're going to let him tell some of the story. Like, he's got a real unique way of doing patterning deer now. You do a bunch of preseason or postseason scouting now, right? So
I do a ton of scouting, starting in February and March, and then usually even all the way through the summer. I'm walking somewhere, partly scouting and partly because just need to get out and do something, So Saturday mornings I'll be walking somewhere. Yeah, put a lot of miles in. That's right.
So you, like some of these deer, say like this deer, you develop like a history with. So kind of tell me a story about what kind of made you go in this area and what sign you found, and then how much like you depend a lot on trail camera stuff. So.
Yeah, Yeah, I do. Use cameras a lot, and had been running cameras in a particular area the year before, and got pictures of that deer in the late season, kind of almost after season. So I figured he had kind of made it, but he had not been living in that particular area where I got the picture of him. So I set out that spring to find his home range, and a couple miles away found another ridge system that had some big rubs on it, and put some cameras out on trails and old scrapes and stuff, and didn't get pictures of him there, but I got pictures of him back where I got the first picture of him the winter before, all summer. And then like they kind of do when they shed their velvet, he moved to back to that area I found the spring before, and he was there all as soon as he shed velvet, all through the pre-rut, the rut, and I got a lot of pictures of him, got a lot of history with him, and I feel like that's what I need to do, because I kind of target specific bucks and try to dial in on them. And eventually I got him post-rut, pretty late after the rut, and I felt like that was his home core area, and he was really comfortable there. And once he finished rutting and doing everything, he kind of went back to his normal habits, and I was fortunate enough to get on a spot there where I had several pictures of him and put an arrow in him.
How far apart did that move, that shift that you?
Almost 2 miles.
Wow.
And I've had similar experiences with other deer. I would get pictures of them all during the summer and think I'm in the good here, and then they shed their velvet and disappear, and never see them again. And then I've had other deer where I don't get any pictures of them until the rut, and then they come through just a little bit during the rut. And typically I don't have good success with either one of those types of deer, the ones that relocate and the ones that are rut roamers. The ones that I have the most success with are the ones that are homebodies, and they stay there in that area. And maybe it's just because I'm able to get dialed in on them easier because they're there. But those are the types of deer that I normally get, the ones I can try to hang in there with as much as I can and figure out.
Wow. Well, so how many hunts did you actually have on this deer, and how many deer did you see during the time frame that you were hunting for it?
Yeah, it's kind of it's a unique but sad story altogether. So I was bouncing around a little bit, had another area that had some good deer on it, but knew that if I was going to take one deer last year, I wanted it to be that deer. And I actually had pictures of that deer about 5 out of 6 weekends during the daylight. He was moving. I never got a nighttime picture of him. He was moving during the daylight.
That's up, man.
And I was missing him, and we passed each other in the woods. One day he was on 2 different cameras on the same day. And so I was kind of getting frustrated, but there aren't that many deer where I'm hunting. And he was the third, when I shot him, that was the third deer I had seen while hunting that deer. And I'd been in there, I'd been splitting time a little bit, but I had been in there a good bit, pre-rut. Got the first pictures of him October 6th, and then after that I was in there a lot. So but that was the third deer I'd seen, and was just fortunate that I had pictures of him on this one particular point, and kind of had pictures of deer moving on that point in the weather pattern with mist and rain and fog. And that one particular day I said, hey, I want to go give that deer one last shot, and then I'll say goodbye to him and spend the spring looking for him again, and it was kind of mist and rain. I had my umbrella out, and I couldn't believe it when he came through and was standing there, so.
What time of the year? What, December or January?
It was January 2nd, yeah.
January 2nd. That's incredible there, so that you stuck with him that long, because most people have done moved on to different areas by that time out of this area. So
yeah. Oh, I had moved on to a different area and was hunting deer that were well into the rut and pre-rut there, and kind of like what you do, chasing the rut, different management areas. I got pulling out of the driveway that morning. I was like, do I turn this way and go hunt the rutting deer, or turn that way and go hunt that deer one more time in the other direction? So I fortunately went the right way. So
that's a heck of a dang deer, especially with a bow. I mean, and especially to be that old, and you kind of had the history of him, and just amazing for that accomplishment. So now we kind of get into the story of this one, because you said this is the biggest body deer. If you wished you could have waited, you know, so 220s plus probably. So, and he looks like he was an old deer, but you didn't really get to verify his age, did you?
No, I didn't. Yeah, kind of was new to hunting this particular area up here, and had spent a lot of time the previous spring scouting, and it was the first time I'd hunted that particular spot, and actually had COVID and was hunting on the ground, and couldn't move very fast because I couldn't move very fast, and was slipping around, and he came out of some thick stuff, and I shot him about 1.5 miles from the truck. I had to go back, get the sled, come back, get the deer. And I thought he was going to be the last deer that I ever killed, because I was so out of breath trying to move him, you know, every few yards. But when I got that deer, and that was 3 years ago, that was my first big deer kind of up here in this area. You know, that kind of lit a fire under me to continue walking and scouting and looking and trying to figure stuff out. And then each of the next 2 years, I was able to get a good one up here too. So,
Wow, so that was with both?
no, that was with a gun. Yeah, I shot with a gun. Yeah.
So this was both, that one?
That one was with a rifle too. That was the next hunting season. So this was the first one. That was the second one. That one was the third one.
Wow.
And same deal here. I had pictures of this deer in velvet and on scrapes, and there was another big deer in there with him, and he kind of ran him off, I guess, and claimed that area as his area. And you know, kind of went sporadic there during the peak of the rut, and then it was mid-December, late December, when I shot him with a rifle. And I had a weather-based pattern when storm front came through and rolled through kind of before daylight, and he came through about an hour after daylight and slipping down the ridge. So, but I had you know, of the deer I thought I might get a crack at, that was the one I thought I had the best chance at, most sign and most pictures during the fall.
Well, that weather pattern you're talking about was the rain, and then just a wind shift happened too. So.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite patterns, is right after that rain stops, you know, being out there, you've talked about that a lot, and when that wind starts to change, or you got that rain that stops, it just something happens, those deer trigger to get up and get moving. And about the time I was parking the truck that morning, that happened. You know, that rain stopped, and I turned the windshield wipers off as I'm pulling into the parking area or whatever, and was able to get back in there with it being wet, real quiet, and set up. And you know, it was the first time I'd hunted that particular part of that area. I had found it a couple of weeks before. We were in there bow hunting. I scouted a little bit and fine-tuned my spot a little bit, and he was walking straight to me 30 yards away when I shot him, and I shot him with a rifle too.
He was by himself?
He was, and all the hunts I had hunting this area and this deer, that was the 7th deer sighting that I had chasing this one, and saw the same small buck 3 times, a couple of does, a spike, and then him. So gets kind of, I don't want to, I mean, you know, I guess it is frustrating when you don't see deer, but you got to have the right type of mindset to sit there and not see anything time after time, and then hope, you know, we were talking about it earlier, a lot of times you can pattern, you can adjust based off what you see, but when you're not seeing anything, you got maybe some picture data like I do, or you just have to go with what you feel, or you go with what you've known from years past. Right. So it's not the same as watching them in action when you're not seeing any deer, you know.
That's very neat, very cool that you're building a relationship basically with them, you know, getting 3 or 4 years of data, and you're spending so much time, you know, different, you know, ridge systems and holler systems that you're kind of figuring out when they're summer and winter, and that's pretty neat that you've been able to do that. And so, about how many cameras would be involved in something like that?
Well, it's gotten to be more, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But usually I've got, you know, total out there right now, I've probably got close to 20. And you know, the thing about the cameras is, and you can't just go by the camera, because when I shot that deer,
talking about cameras and technology, the GoPro just quit mid-sentence, so we're going to kind of start it back. But you're kind of figuring them out, you're doing a homebody style hunting, you're you're figuring out from summer pattern to winter pattern with them, and you're using cameras. So I was talking about how many cameras you see you run around 20 cameras to do that. So.
Yeah, right now I am. But you know, a lot of times, you got a deer that walk right behind your camera, and so you can't take the camera as 100% truth. You know that nothing's in there or something is in there when you're trying to figure them out too.
Yeah, I kind of take the camera. Like if I get one or a couple pictures of them, I say I know that sucker's there for a reason. You know, I don't really say it's if it's not there that day, it don't mean it didn't walk behind it or a different place or whatever. So I'm just like you're finding the home area and figuring out his pattern. I kind of do that to an extent. But that dang picture is just like finding a track to me. If there's some reason that they're there, and then trying to figure out the puzzle of that, and especially when you get 2 or 3 pictures or a bunch of pictures, over the summer, spring, summer, and winters, that really makes you feel good. But a lot of the camera stuff to me is just like, yeah, I know one's there.
Yeah, that's right.
So it helps you stay there, stick with the dry days when you're not seeing much. Because like you said, I'm the same way. I've gone the whole week not seeing a dang deer, and then next time I go see these deer, So it's just because when you're hunting these deer, you don't really want to see a bunch of. Most of the time, especially after the summer, they're not hanging together with little bucks and stuff.
Right.
So if I start seeing a bunch of little bucks, it makes me nervous because I think I'm in the wrong area. So I kind of make a move. So you got some sheds and stuff, kind of.
Yeah, I got a couple of decent sheds, good sheds from out there, and
Big sheds.
this was another one that kind of set me up with just gave me some confidence to start digging in a lot harder.
Right.
and looking a lot harder, and I'm pretty confident that this deer has either completely gone somewhere else, like multiple miles away, or is probably dead. And I had pictures of this deer the next year, and kind of got up with some other guys that hunt the area, and they had pictures of him. This was a deer that would spend his summer area close to where I was, but went somewhere else for hardhorn area in the rut. And neither one of us had pictures of him last year, and I don't have pictures of him this year. So I'm thinking that, like a lot of the deer that we wonder what happened to, that they they end up underneath the bush somewhere dead, and nobody ever sees them. But
Die of old age, or
yeah,
even a lot of people don't think of this. It's happened out there in this area that EHD sometimes get the older deer, and it's they've found them before. Big old bucks. For some reason or other, EHD picks on the older deer for some reason, and especially the big bucks. So that hurts your heart when thinking, well, he's gone. So
yeah, this deer I had on camera with this rack, and it was again one of the things that kind of got me set up, excited to work hard and try to figure them out in this area. But the next year he was in the same area as this buck, and then he went somewhere else, and I got pictures of him the next year too. And I got pictures of him last year, but he had gone down a good bit. And I got pictures of him in June of this year, and he looked like he was going to be even smaller. So I think that this deer, if he's still around, if he made it through the summer, is at least 8.5 years old.
Wow.
And it's going down on the downhill side too.
That's something to have a history like that. And that's something I've kind of noticed with camera stuff. If there's 2 big bucks together in a bachelor group in the summer, when it comes late fall, one of them is running the other one out because I don't want them in that area. That I've noticed that with several deer lately. So, and they kind of figure that adjustment out. How far they actually go apart. And I'm assuming probably 3 or 4 miles anyway. So basically set up their home area, and they don't want to see each other. If they do, they're going to get in a pretty bad fight. So it's like the monster I killed. He had another big one with him during the summer, but when wintertime come, he always had like his little 6 or 7 point. It was a pretty good sized body deer, but just didn't have a big rack.
Yeah. And
he kept him around, and then he ended up getting it. But I mean, it's pretty wild that they'll put up with each other a little bit. When that velvet comes off, the other big deer, he's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
The other ones, the ones he could actually dominate, they get to stick around. But
yeah, they were together in that little area for a couple weeks, hardhorn, and during that few week period, scrapes, rubs out the wazoo, and I had pictures of both of them on the same scrape in the same afternoon, and then the other one went away, and the sign actually went way down, and I think, especially this time of year, ramping up to the rut, you start seeing those scrapes early, you got multiple bucks in the same spot, and you got multiple big bucks, and they're figuring stuff out. And during that particular year, the peak scrape was well before the peak rut in that area where that buck was. But after he claimed that spot as his own, he didn't have any competition, so I don't think he needed to make as much sign.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we kind of talk about a little bit. It's early season after the velvet comes off. If you find a bunch of scrapes and stuff like that, try to hunt that right then, because they're doing that dominance thing and tearing woods up. Then once they figure all that out, they disperse. So it's excuse me, they kind of figure all that out, and then they establish their own core area. So when you see an early bunch of sign, that's the time to try to get on them scrapes and hunt if you like hunting scrapes. To me, that's when I would do it. And after that, it's harder to me to hunt a scrape, because it's just they're moving so much, they're traveling more, and so getting ready for the rut. So, and then they don't have enough pressure where some of them don't went nocturnal because all the scouting and the bow hunting and squirrel hunting and stuff. So, but that is very neat, man. Those two big old sheds. So got another story we need to tell, because there's another story about a coup. So a different area, but one of these over here in this corner, you had a couple shots with the muzzle loader with the nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get the camera over here. I was muzzleloader hunting, and was long ways away from the parking area, way up in the hills and the mountains and stuff. And buck came chasing a doe by, and shot at the buck as it stopped, 70, 80 yards away, and hit a branch and saw the bullet deflect and reloaded. A few minutes later, the doe came back by and ran right in front of the stand, and I shot the buck and kind of hit it towards the back of the ribs, and it kind of hunched up. And so I've already shot twice, and the buck is standing there in front of me, and I'm hiding behind this little sapling between me and the buck, reloading again. And I'm just thinking he's just going to go over that hill as soon as I get reloaded. But I got reloaded, got the primer in the gun, leaned out from behind the tree and shot him again and knocked him down, and then I still had to reload again and get down and finish him off. And so I got back to the parking area. It was, I'm over a mile from the parking area, and there was some other guys there, and they're like, "You have any luck?" And I was like, "Yeah, I killed a pretty good animal." They're like, "Really? We didn't hear you shoot." And I was like, "Man, I was cutting loose up there." Shot 4 times, but it worked out.
Yeah, he was nice 8 points.
Yeah, he was a good buck. He has like 6 to 7 inch brow tines. It's kind of a neat deer, and that was my first big buck in that particular area where I was hunting. Different part of the state, and we just moved to North Alabama. This will be about my 7th or 8th deer season up here, about my 8th deer season.
Wow.
So it was kind of the same thing, just getting a foothold in that area and learning. And I've killed quite a few bucks over there and learned the time frames and go off a lot of historical data like you talk about. This is when this starts to happen at this time of the year, and this weather pattern, they're usually moving right after that at this time of the year. And took a lot of that data and tried to apply it in different parts of the state too.
So we're looking into today's 29th?
I think so. Yeah.
29th, and you said you finally seen some deer yesterday. First deer you've seen all year.
Yeah.
So y'all listen to that. So.
Yeah, I've hunted pretty much every weekend, not necessarily just hammering it, but I've been out there a good bit.
Probably 6 or 8 sets.
Probably at least 6 or 8 sets.
Yes.
One day I hunted all day. That was the only day I hunted all day. But the other times it was either a morning or an afternoon. And hadn't seen any deer until yesterday, and had a spike and a string of does come by yesterday, and that always makes you feel good.
Yeah.
See some deer.
Yeah, that's a lot. You seen 12?
Yeah,
That's a bunch of deer. So.
It was a spike, and then a string of about 12 mamas and little ones came through about an hour later. So
it's pretty awesome though. Yeah, y'all think about this though. When you're hunting big old deer, a lot of times, especially early season, you go without seeing them because you're targeting. Like he's targeting specific bucks now, and then really enjoys that. And I enjoy it to an extent, but I just don't have as much luck. It's like, he's had 3 years in a row basically of some crazy good success. So, but it's something you put that into your system, or I tried, but it. And then another thing, like he's talking about, you're not seeing anything, and then here, this right now, it's fixing to be a light switch. Halloween to me, boom, everything changes. And we're supposed to get some rain and a big front, so definitely fixing to change. So this video will be out after that, but it's gonna be interesting what happens. I'm going to work the next 4 or 5 days, so I'm gonna miss out on that. But they could be a big deer killed the next 3 days. So, and because we got muzzleloader season fixing to start, and somebody could put a whopper on the ground, so we're gonna see. But man, this is a cool room. I mean, it's got, like I say, y'all seen the video, a variety of big bucks from Kansas, Wisconsin, and Alabama, right?
That's right.
So
Kansas, Wisconsin, Alabama. One from Kansas and a few from Wisconsin and just Alabama, public land, private land.
yeah, a good variety. I mean, you can tell he's got the passion and loves it, and then, I mean, this is one. Y'all been to several different trophy rooms now, and this is just as impressive as anybody's. It's just real good. Real good deer for anywhere. So and these three right here, and that one over there, that big is over in Elmore County. Them some dang whopper bucks. So
yeah, thank you.
So man, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Good talking to you.
Good talking to you.
Hey, hope y'all enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, send me any more questions, tips. Anybody y'all know of on video of public land hunter, and maybe in a private land. We're still, I've been concentrating on the public land stuff because that's what I like doing. So, but anyway, you got to get them flat. We'll see y'all. Thank y'all for watching this video. Hey, we appreciate y'all's support. Hey, if you don't care, if you haven't got a book yet, Amazon, get a book. We got hard copies now available. It took me a while to get them, but hey, they're on there now. Again, we appreciate it. Appreciate everybody's hard work that helped us to get this done, lifetime achievement. So anyway, you can get one. And thanks again for y'all's support. Subscribe, like, tell your friends, and we'll keep coming up with these videos. So we'll see y'all on the next one.